Thundergrunt.
Hey guys,
Bob.
Hi, Bob.
introduce yourselves.
I am Jamie Nash, screenwriter.
That's it.
That's it.
That defines him. Yeah.
I'm Jimmy George. I am a full-time script consultant and a screenwriter as well.
And I'm Bob Rose. I'm a guy.
Just a guy.
I'm just some guy.
Full-time guy.
Full-time dude. Yeah.
I think of many things when I think of Jamie. Good
I know.
stuff.
Thank you.
I think all three of us are Renaissance men to some degree.
There you go.
Microwave chef, Jamie Nash. Follow
just-
me on
I'm just bad
microwavechef.com.
Even with a microwave, I suck. All right, so today is I consider this kind of a special episode because our first episode ever, which I think is our most downloaded episode
Yeah,
too,
definitely.
is Jordan Peele's Get Out. This is how we started,
The
guys.
one that started
That's
it all.
Right.
right.
All right, we jumped off on three white guys talking about Get Out. But today we're going to talk about his newest movie, which is Us.
I know. I'm excited.
Right. And so, yeah, just like warning anyone who's listening for the first time, we are three white guys.
Yes.
So take our opinions on this movie maybe with a grain of salt. But I do feel like, Get Out is kind of special to all of us. I feel
Yeah,
like, yeah,
definitely.
It kind of Get Out makes me think of this podcast.
Me
now.
too.
So,
Me too.
so let's.
Aww.
Oh, it's
Warm
a little,
and fuzzies.
little warm, little heart. Jamie,
Yes.
can you tell us who wrote it and what is the current box office? Because it's still in theaters.
I know. I saw it last night.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to add in Jimmy's dollars manually. Pull out your calculator.
Add what, $12 to whatever
Yeah,
we
about
say.
$12.
Right.
So right now it stands at $180 million and some change.
Whoa.
It's 134 million
domestically
domestically and 46 million foreign.
And probably hasn't opened everywhere
Probably
yet.
not.
Yeah.
So it's still got ways to go.
Fresh.
It's not like Aquaman, which gets
No.
released everywhere at once and blows the doors off things.
Or
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. and
Captain
your,
Marvel.
Your billionaire, your $1 billion ones. Right? Your Billies. We'll call them
What
Billies.
was the budget for this? Is that on there?
The budget for this, if you believe Box Office Mojo, is $20 million. And I kind of believe it because
Yeah.
you figured Get Out had the $5 million Blumhouse special
the
numbers.
model.
And then
Yeah.
after he blew the doors off of it with Get Out, he probably got the, and it looks bigger.
Yeah, it's bigger.
It just, the camera
But you know
work.
what? I bet he actually he kept it reasonable though.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
He
definitely.
probably got offered
20
even
million
higher,
is
you know?
reasonable.
He
you
did
know,
like a
for
Ryan
sure.
Reynolds where he said, no, it's staying a certain
this level.
This level.
I think 20 million is like the upper end of this kind of movie. Like nobody makes this kind of movie for 60 million
Yeah, it
anymore.
doesn't make sense.
20 million is the prestige
Gotcha.
version of these kind of movies. I mean, I guess something maybe like It might be made for a little bit more because
Yeah.
it has the
Stephen King brand.
Stephen King brand behind
Right.
it, especially the second It. But yeah, 20 million, that's the height of these. That's about as much as you can make. But just the carnival scenes and all that
That
stuff.
was
I was
probably
like,
costly.
I was like, whoa, he spent some money on this. You could just tell. And a lot of
Well, it
sets
takes
and-
place in places other than a house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Right. But then again, Get Out, he didn't even believe he could get that made. So this
Yeah, exactly.
This
It's
is
all
like
bonus.
True.
that was that Get Out bump.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just development wise, I don't think there really was. I think it was like, you made Get Out. What are you going to do next? I
Of
think
course,
that was
yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of the
Do you
development of it.
is there any idea of the timeline of how long this had been sitting around? Or?
I can't
He-
say I
Pretty sure
saw
he
it.
said in some interviews like he had it written like
Gotcha.
before Key and Peele.
Really, really.
Yeah.
See, I didn't.
It,
even
I
know
can't
that.
remember if he said this was written or he's had horror movie scripts just sitting there for like decades.
Gotcha.
Ah,
So
okay.
he's wanted to do this his whole life, but he did comedy first. That's how he got his name. So
I
Yeah.
think it was like inspired by a Twilight Zone episode or something.
The Mirror.
The Mirror.
Yeah.
I can't remember what
which one.
It's a woman who finds who runs into herself in a train station.
Right.
Oh, gotcha. Which sounds like Orphan Black. No,
Yeah, it does. I love
Right.
Orphan Black. but I don't think it shares much in story. It's just kind of like similar in that
Right.
duality.
It ignited the
doppelganger.
spark of the idea.
Right,
of this.
exactly.
Yeah.
Inspired by, but
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
Right.
It feels like a Twilight Zone episode, though.
I mean,
It's
he's hosting Twilight
appropriate.
Zone.
Yeah.
Why not? You know?
Strangely enough, like I was trying to think of the last like 1-2 punch filmmaker out of the gate.
Yeah.
And M. Night was, I mean, obviously comes to mind
Yeah.
because he kind of had a 1-2 punch, even though Unbreakable wasn't this big at all.
Breakable was the disappointment.
It was.
And honestly,
yeah.
that's why I asked about the history, because I don't know about the history of the scripts, because Get Out, we know, was developed for years, the script. And same with M. Night. Sixth Sense, he
Yeah,
was working
Sixth
on it for
Sense.
10 years,
Right.
right? And then Unbreakable was like a 1-year gestation period. So
Which is
the
weird.
quality, that's why I was
But
curious.
I don't know if it's, but I feel like most people revere Unbreakable versus Sixth Sense now.
now,
on.
but I think going
And I even,
Going back, right?
Yeah.
I even wonder, though, in some ways, Sixth Sense still is like who you think of when you think of M. Night.
definitely.
I get what you say about Unbreakable, but you still think, I see dead people and the Sixth Sense and the twist. There's
Yep.
a twist. All
It's a
that kind of
twist.
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was trying to think of like who the other writer, director, filmmakers like that are.
Also saw some comparisons with this to M. Night.
I,
Not favorable ones, but
I could
Interesting.
I can
Yeah.
totally see that, especially with the twist ending
Right,
and
right.
things like that.
yeah.
yeah. Spoiler alert.
gimmicks.
This will be all spoilers,
And
by the way.
Yeah, all
the thing
Yeah.
M. Night was doing back in the early 2000s, he was just doing these extended. No, I mean just. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus for it. He was doing extended.
Take him
Twilight-
down, Jamie.
Exactly. That M. Night, he sucks. The
Yeah,
hack.
right.
No, but he was doing extended Twilight Zone episodes. He was turning like an episode of the Twilight Zone into a movie.
Right, right.
Um,
Where he was in it, hosting it himself.
that's right.
He was
That's right.
Yes.
as Rod Serling.
Strangely enough, Jordan Peele's the actor, and he's not in these movies.
Yeah,
that's
I
kind
know.
of a thing. So
Well, I think that would be an ego thing, but yeah,
yeah,
right. But yeah, this is just it's amazing to think that he's already being revered, and we're just still in the run of his second movie.
I think it's just
You know
the
what I
time
mean?
that we live in, and the news cycle.
The news cycle and
aspect of
everything.
it is completely
also
different.
Kind of unfair to him. That's a whole different
Yeah, I
podcast.
agree. That's a different.
but it's a
podcast.
little
I agree
bit
with you.
But it's I think it's unfair to
Yeah.
like push master filmmaker on anyone.
yeah,
On second movie out. That's
Yeah.
like and like, you know what I mean? Like 2 years, 3
it's
years
unnecessary.
in. It's unnecessary.
We just have to put these. It's just like the sports talk thing, like the elite quarterbacks.
yeah. I
let him get some years in and some movies in, and then we'll decide.
I think what is kind of I think what's kind of exciting to me about him is he seems to be appealing to the everyman.
Yes.
It's not movies, even though there's these kind of social messages and stuff that are behind it. These
Just say the word. Say it.
what's the word?
Oh, elevated horror.
Oh, elevated horror.
The word we hate. We hate it.
I wasn't even thinking
Oh,
about
I thought you
elevated
were
horror.
going towards that. He's not appealing to that. The
He-
people that would say that word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is
Right.
and I think that's what M. Night, when people got excited, they were like, maybe he's the next Spielberg because he's in tune with what the audience wants and how to play the modern audience.
Right.
And I think that's what Jordan Peele is right now. There's nobody better that's kind of playing the modern audience in these original kind of movies,
Especially horror.
especially horror.
Yeah.
So he just knows what keys to hit, so to
Nice.
speak. Yeah,
What we need to hear in the moment.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the setup.
Yeah, it's a great setup.
It's a really great setup.
It's my favorite part about the movie. The first
scale goes
act
down?
is the lock in. I've been thinking about that ever since
The
you
lock
said
in.
that. You want
Lock it in.
Yeah.
The lock in.
So yeah, let's just setup wise,
Setting up likable characters. Right.
we get the teaser. You know what? You're starting to see a pattern emerge in Jordan
Mhm.
Peele's stuff, right?
Yes.
I totally saw a pattern.
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You get the teaser, you get the little horror beat in the beginning, which a
Yeah.
lot of horror movies do. It's not like he's alone in that, but this one has a teaser.
It's also his fandom of the genre.
Yeah.
Right.
think
I think
so.
this teaser totally ups the ante on his last teaser, which was just
Me
basically
too.
grabbing a guy and shoving him in a trunk.
Yeah.
Like this teaser with I loved just the visuals and stuff in this teaser. I thought it was a lot of fun.
No, it was evocative of so many different movies. It made me think of Big the most.
That's so
It
interesting.
didn't it? It just made me think of
Zoltar.
I
Big.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
I
I
agree.
mean it was just like
Um,
it was a beautiful opening scene.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of complaints about the slow pace of it, but I loved that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
dude, I've
then
seen so many.
then you don't like movies.
I
So.
like my movie to kick into gear.
That's a different movie though.
I know.
Yeah.
The trailer for me was like, it was nostalgic, but it was the trailer, the teaser. It was nostalgic, but it was also kind of perfect and dreamlike, and it was really cool.
Yeah, it set the tone.
And it's not explaining things, it's just showing and leaving it up to the audience for later.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be clear, we're talking about the carnival scene and the girl
going
and
into the mirror.
the parents
maze.
arguing,
Yeah,
the girl separating
The
from her
open.
parents. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, but just in case somebody doesn't know what when
Yeah.
you say teaser, it's
Yeah.
people think other stuff when you say
Yeah.
teaser.
True.
So,
True that.
yeah.
True that.
Is that what that's called? That part of the script?
I'm calling it that? It's more a TV term.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
kinda
TV
it wouldn't be like
term.
a
the
prologue.
the thing before the
it's
credits.
almost like a prologue.
Prologue?
but-
Pre-credit sequence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Like that's when the TV theme would come up
Yeah,
after
in
that.
TV. It was, yeah.
They would say Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
right.
It's not an official term for sure.
Like you could literally see right after you see her face scream, you could see like, and then he's like over there and then he narrates it, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But so we go from that to a setup of a
the
family,
family,
crazy, likable,
very relatable.
Yeah, lots of
The car
lots of
scene.
humor. The car scene.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's standard in horror movies.
Yeah.
The family driving to a house.
To a situation that's different than where they live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
Right.
I mean, again, if we parallel it to Get Out, it's a vacation movie.
Yep,
it's
another
a trip
one.
It's
to
a
a
trip
place.
movie.
And,
Yep.
and the trip happens very early. It happens within the setup. It's not the
Yeah.
second act trip.
I liked that. We
Yeah.
were already we were arriving to the almost it almost allows us to like acclimate ourselves with the situation the way that they are.
That's right.
Like we're
That's
walking
right.
into the house and so they're gathering new information as they
'Cause
go.
geography is important.
Yeah.
Not kind of being a little bit. It's not quite fish out of water, but a new place.
Yeah.
And-
They
and
haven't been there in a year.
I always like movies, and Get Out probably didn't have this, but they were in motion. I like
Yeah.
movies where we come into a scene where something's in motion.
Yeah.
Like a lot of new screenwriters that I read, it'll just be, okay, we wake up. It's an ordinary day.
Yeah.
Let's eat breakfast.
Well,
Let's-
don't start with waking up. That's like
Yeah,
The number
that's-
one.
no,
that's the
number one rule. Never do that.
But you could almost see a scene like from a lesser screenplay where it is like they're all at the breakfast table,
Yep.
and it's like, hey, did
Well,
you
they
do your
would have
homework?
just cut right to the table.
Cut
Yeah.
right to the table.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And there's really nothing going on, so you're almost at a cold start.
Yeah.
Whereas at least if you're driving in the car, you're going somewhere, so the audience has to be interactive. We're trying to learn, where are they going? Who are these people?
Yep.
What's the dynamic?
Yep.
So all that stuff happens.
It's planting all these intrigue seeds.
Exactly. There's a little bit of conflict, even.
Mhm.
She doesn't really want to go.
Yeah,
or
and you can
she
tell.
she doesn't want to go to the beach.
I feel like this scene, the great writing in this scene is the other members of the family besides Lupita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
agree.
Like it actually sets all of them up.
All of them.
That's their time to be set up until we get. Then when we get there, it's like her time. You know what I mean?
Every
Yeah.
little bit of information
That's
you
given,
learn,
yeah.
it comes back.
Mhm.
It's all like you this is later in the Chekhov's gun, but that she's a runner. He's got this magic trick that like
Yeah.
right.
parallels the future monsters, fire love, and the dad is envious of everything
And-
that
Right,
his friends have, and
Mhm.
right.
He's trying to
which is-
keep up with the Joneses.
right,
so
keeping
to
up with the
speak.
Joneses. So
Yeah.
and
Her fear of the beach, or all that
all
kind
these
of
things.
stuff.
He's
the-
really good at Chekhov's gun. And for anyone who
Yeah.
doesn't know that, that theory is that if you show something,
Star Trek, right?
I think that
Yeah,
that's
Chekhov.
what's from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you show a gun, it's going to be used later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like Peele's really good at that.
Absolutely.
Like everything has a purpose.
I mean, just how you're listing them, go back to our Home Alone episode for the crazy
Yep.
beginning there. The same kind of stuff going on here.
Yeah,
Just-
every single moment it seems like it's just there, but it's all purposeful.
And I brought
a
up
movie referenced in this movie.
yeah, yeah,
right. Yeah, right.
I brought up a theory about that when we were talking about Home Alone that somebody said to me once that I'm not sure if I fully tested it in the lab, but it almost holds true that everything is a setup or a payoff. So
Love it.
you only have so much room in these opening scenes. You get 3 minutes, 4 minutes
Yep.
tops. So everything has to pay off in some ways. So you have to find a way to not only do all these setups, but make them interesting and fun and do. So you have to set. Not only are you setting up these items that will pay off later, like a gun, like a Chekhov's gun, but you're setting up character arcs. You're setting up family dynamics. You're setting up character traits, like you said, that'll pay off, like the girl's a runner and things like that. All these things.
The closet door, the ambulance,
the closet door, the ambulance,
the face mask,
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. All of these things come back.
So sometimes when you're writing, you write that stuff, and then that's how you decide how to solve problems later. Like this can be when you come up with these, it's hard to say when you're writing. Like sometimes you free write and you write things and you find something that you came up with that's a solution to the problem in Act 3 or Act 2. Other times you write to Act 2 and you need solutions, so you go back to it and you plan them.
Reverse engineer, so it's motivated.
I mean, you could come up with the end first and then just put them in the beginning.
Lots of strategies.
In this case, though, it all feels really intentional.
Yeah.
The one thing I can say about Peele is intentional is the word I feel constantly when watching both these movies.
Very
moment to moment.
Yes.
Classic, writing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they do a lot of rooting. I'm not going to go down this giant list of rooting interest techniques that I use from a guy named David S. Freeman. But,
rooting for likable characters.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's techniques that you just and you can continue the rooting interest techniques from page 1 to the end. But if you stack the rooting interest techniques on the front end, it makes us, no matter what they're doing, like them more.
Can you give us an example of something he does here?
Put the hero in danger is something later, but we'll go to the
Jimmy
maternal.
has a giant printed out book right now. I just want everyone to know.
Relates to kids, loving toward family, ethical, solving problems, feels pain, hides pain. She's hiding pain.
Right.
Artist or response to art. There's art all over the house.
Music, the beginning.
Music, exactly.
Yeah, I got 5 on it.
Music.
Yeah.
Later, she confesses a deep fear. Characters have powerful dreams or flashbacks. Funny, witty, which they are. They're exchanging banter. Thoughtful, intelligent, underdog. This guy thinks he's an underdog. He's like talking about. There's just so many. I mean, I could sit here and list them.
Yeah, you don't need to list all of them, but that definitely they're all there.
They're all there in the first 10 pages.
Right.
It's interesting because you hear like the term the save the cat scene or something like that. But a lot of these, you don't have to save a cat necessarily. Sometimes it's just enough to show somebody's lonely.
He made that movie.
What's that?
He made that movie.
Who made that movie?
Keanu. Yeah, right. This actually is kind of his third movie, but yeah.
That's true.
Keanu
I always forget that.
He didn't direct Keanu, but yeah.
Okay, so he's not as good as M. Night. Is that what you're talking about?
I love Keanu, so whatever, yeah.
That was his Unbreakable.
Right. It'll be more respected in years to come. Let's talk about secrets.
Oh, man.
Characters and secrets. Because this movie is chock full of them, I think. Right?
Well, the funny thing about this when I was watching it and this twist came up, and it's one of those twists that probably half the audience is probably going to sort of guess along the way, I would think.
Yeah. Did you guys?
I did. It didn't take it away. I mean, not that I'd say
I did halfway through. It wasn't. It
the
didn't
reason
ruin
that
it
I
for
guessed
me.
it is I think it did a good job in giving us the evidence we needed to prove or disprove it.
That's right.
The debate, there was enough.
Cheat.
It didn't cheat. I appreciated that.
It's kind of
a revelation.
This is more of a theory, but I think it's not meant to be this big revelation.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
I don't think it's meant to be a twist.
It's meant to be figured out.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand about the concept of like these twists, because a lot of times like people say, well, I figured it out. Well, I mean,
you're better than the movie. Here's your medal. Right.
Yeah, I mean, every other movie without a twist, you figure out the ending too, but you don't not like it.
Yeah.
Like, I knew they were going to blow up the Death Star in the end. Well, congratulations.
To use language from our old episodes, the cheeseburgers. We already know how the cheeseburger movies are going to end because they're saving the cat. That doesn't ruin those movies.
Yeah.
To me, learning, and it comes in later, learning that, figuring that secret out, and then just kind of having evidence confirm that that's what the secret is. You could kind of see her transforming when she started to connect with it, because I don't think she realizes. I don't know. Personally, I don't think she comes to full realization of what who she is until the end, and she's just having these moments that are kind of aligned with like the audience who's starting to understand the secret. And that is like when she starts seeing the shadow people die and she starts feeling empathy for them, there's like these slow moments where she's just looking and she's kind of like, wait, I think I am them. I think I'm one of them.
I think it's debatable that is that or fear.
Fear.
Because she already knew. She already knows.
She already knows. Or
and
she's next.
But that comes, don't you think that comes with how it's portrayed? How it's written? Yeah.
Saying, yes,
right.
Yeah.
Like the fact that
That's
it's
in the
up
writing.
for debate, keeping that question for
Left
the
and right.
audience
Yep.
is why it's good.
Yeah, agreed.
That's not why it's
that it's
bad.
not conclusive.
Like, I feel like some people would read that as bad.
No, I like that.
Yeah, what the audience knows versus what we know versus what we know the characters know.
But the thing I was saying when I was watching this and I saw the secret and I kind of was thinking this is going to be that secret in the end where she switched places. And I was thinking that very early on. And then I immediately thought to Jimmy, because Jimmy gets a lot of clients who had this problem. And I was like, this isn't that problem. But I was like, maybe he'd have the opportunity to talk about that.
To talk about this.
Because this is like the good version of that.
This is the great version of that.
Yes.
And I think part of it is because it doesn't, you can almost take it away and it still works. Everything still works. But
like she doesn't need to have switched places for the movie to be good.
That's right. That's right. And so,
right? Yes,
now,
that's what we're saying.
Jimmy gets an example, and I'll let Jimmy do some talking here. What's the example of a secret that doesn't work sometimes when you
Okay. Oh God.
Put him on the spot.
No.
You don't have to do a literal
No, because I
example.
just have so many of them, and I'm trying to do it in a way where I'm not disrespectful to a client who's listening. But I'll So what I get a lot is a little different than this, but on the same level. Like you said, this is a good version of that, which is mystery goals. Which is, so I read a ton of scripts. I wrote nothing down on this. I read a ton of scripts where the entire movie, you don't know what they're trying to do. Like it's like we're going from scene to scene, and there's just characters talking, and they are trying to do something. They are trying to achieve a goal, but you don't know what it is. So like from scene to scene, you're like, what am I supposed to be rooting for to occur? But it just keeps going and it keeps going. And then on the last page, it's revealed, well, this was my goal. They achieved the goal on the last page. And it's like, well, this is what we've been trying to do the whole time. You're like, what? So that's a very different version of what this is. And I think the reason that this works is, I'll say this, a lesser version of this would not let you know that she was trying to protect her family. As weird as that sounds, this works because whether she knows that she's really the shadow
she's
person
still
or not,
trying to protect them.
Everything she's doing is honest to us. Every action she's taking, everything she's doing is honest. We just learned that the meaning behind it is different. Right. So,
and even then with the twist, it's not like the twist isn't she's evil.
No.
The twist is she still loves her family.
Yeah.
And still was trying to protect them. She just happens to be the other one.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say. So I even heard an interview, I think after Get Out with Jordan Peele, and he said, one of his biggest things, he said one of the biggest magics of cinema, and we talk about this all the time, and I think his quote was to bring the audience into the protagonist's eyes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have this secret, that can be tricky because the number one fuel of a movie is you are the hero, in this case you are her, and you are feeling the tension that she's feeling and you empathize with that. So all the rootability things and stuff, the goal of, the best way to make, I wouldn't say the best, but the easiest way, the most powerful way, the most common way maybe is the best way, is to put us in the protagonist's eyes and let us feel their fears, hope their hopes. But if you have a secret and nobody knows what it is, and the goal is based on that secret,
it's tough.
That's a problem. However, the way Bob just described it is exactly why this works. We don't need to know that additional part. That just adds a wrinkle to it. We are worried that she's going to die. Her kids are going to die. We're with her on the survival mission.
Yep, we are completely aligned with the action she's taking.
Right.
And that's what
I'd even
matters.
argue that after the twist is announced to the viewer, you could still in your mind say, well, if I was that tethered, I probably would have done the same
Exactly.
thing.
You can relate
Absolutely.
to
Like, you know what I
it.
mean? There's some
Yeah.
relatable, it's like still relatable.
And that's intentional. That's in the construction.
Yeah.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to. So
This
unless
is your chance.
unless it's oh my god, this is my chance. I know.
Shine, Jimmy,
I'm not
shine.
taking advantage of it at all. Because I have so many great examples, but I don't want to be offensive to
I
my
understand.
clients.
We're
who
not
are
asking you to
listening.
be offensive. Please don't.
Like, okay, I think unreliable narrators, you can have a fake goal. That's like the one thing, but it's motivated to the premise itself.
Mhm.
You know, like, but even like
It's
for
almost
instance,
like they're telling a story. They
Right.
still have to tell an effective story, but their story's a lie.
right,
Or
and that's
Well, that's
for
not
instance
happening
Kaiser
here,
Soze,
though.
No,
the
no,
usual
just giving
the
that as
usual
an example.
suspects.
Yeah.
Right. His goal is the same whether we know the true or false story that he's telling. His goal is to leave that interrogation not in jail,
Right,
So
right.
it stays the same. It's an honest goal, and we're aligned with it the whole time. But it's a
But
fake
he-
goal.
But he's a
It's not-
different character.
He's different.
That's
The
right.
reality of what that goal means, right? So,
I mean,
I'm trying to
it's-
think. For instance, I'll give you
Right,
an
go ahead.
example. I'll just I read a script, and the entire time this character was basically just trying to help her friend deal drugs, and then in the end it turned out of nowhere the last scene was that she was training for a role in a movie that was never mentioned for 99 pages, and then on
I
page
see.
100 she was an actress in a movie playing a drug dealer.
So it felt cheap.
So it was like none of it mattered. We never understood that everything that was being done was in an effort to be better at
Mhm.
being an actor in a movie. Like, you didn't know she was an actress. And then on the last page, it's like you learned that she was doing all of this to be an actor in a movie. So, like, it just is, I read scripts like that all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe in order to, I know you guys love terms, but maybe
Mhm.
that something like that should be what we call a twist, and then something like this should be what we call a reveal.
Could be.
That's a good
I'm
way
trying
to
to
call it.
make
Yeah.
You guys always like the terms,
It's-
but like there needs to be a separation there because I don't feel like this applies to the
To-
word twist
Yeah.
like that does.
Yeah.
That's
I just,
like you
mystery
never-
goals.
you know, left field.
You know though. Here's where I think here's where I would debate you on that.
Oh, go ahead. I'm just trying to give
This
it
is
terms,
fun.
Jamie. I'm just trying to give it terms.
No, I
Yeah.
like your term, but
I'm feeling really guilty right now.
yeah, I didn't want to put you on the spot with that, but I knew it was,
Was
a
that
good
somebody's?
topic.
I mean, they're not good.
That wasn't exactly. I paraphrased it.
So
You just gave him some free advice. Go ahead.
reveal versus twist. I'm not sure in this movie even though I guessed quote unquote the reveal or
Right.
the twist.
Right.
I'm not sure that I expected it to be revealed or needed it to be revealed. I think this movie could have ended without it. And for that reason, I think it might be a twist. Where I think a reveal is the inevitable conclusion that we are
Expecting already?
We're asking ourselves, who is she? Is she?
Yeah.
And I don't think this movie has
No.
that. So that's the
No.
difference, I'd say.
Yes.
I'll agree there. I'll
Yeah.
agree there. Yes, because
So I like your term.
it's not
Yeah.
being
just this
pressed the
movie.
whole time who she
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
until we get down to
Yeah.
the bunker.
And it all that's not to say it doesn't all work.
No,
And
it totally works,
That's not
yeah.
to say I don't love twists. But I think
Yeah.
that's
We're just working
that
on
would
the
be
terms right
yeah,
now.
it's a term.
Yeah. I don't have a term for
We're
it.
playing
Yeah.
a semantics.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
don't like I think that for the most part, the audience needs to be aligned with what the character is doing. We need to know what they're trying to do. The meaning behind it.
Which we
Means
are
less.
with both Red and Adelaide
Yes,
the whole time. Both of
and
them.
that's why it works.
Strangely enough, though, I think your example could work in the same way us
I
works
agree.
if we follow that goal through the whole thing and we sort of buy into it. You know, in the drug
Yeah.
dealing aspect.
Yeah,
Like
there was no end game or stakes to
I'm
it.
not saying it would be a great reveal
Yeah.
to say then I'm a movie actor, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure that adds
Yeah,
to it the way
yeah.
this movie it adds to
Yeah.
it and makes you look at it
Yeah.
a second time.
Yeah,
But I think it could work so long as the goal we thought was there took us in an emotional journey.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like how in Us, it's like so they can be free from their tethered.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's an emotional journey.
Yeah.
Whereas that is just by the way, I was just doing a part in a movie.
Yeah.
It's all fake. It was all a dream. Bye.
Yeah, it
right.
was essentially that.
It's all a dream. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, we got
Good discussion,
We got 2 new terms out of that. Structure.
Yeah, well,
I feel like we kind of got
talked
some of
about
this.
setup. The only thing I wanted to say, this movie, unlike Get Out, so I did a lot of comparison when I was sitting there watching this and Get Out. They felt like
Which
they
I
were
don't
written-
think he's trying to
No,
do,
not
but
at all. It's a style thing.
It's a style
No,
thing.
style.
I'm just getting a read on the artist.
Right.
Yeah,
the
the
artist,
style.
you're right.
Yeah, the voice.
It's just like I might watch a Tarantino film and say he likes to jump around in time a lot.
He likes
you
feet.
know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
This is a I think that's Nickelodeon or somebody.
Oh God.
Oh, sure.
Yes, there's something like that.
Dan Snyder.
Somebody or anyway.
Anyway.
That's fine.
Anyway.
Us.
So what were we talking about? No, so in this movie, unlike Get Out was a slow burn movie that really it took a while to even get to like the horror, the survival. There's not a lot of strong goals the hero has until like the midpoint when things close in.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie isn't that way at all. Even though, like you said, there are some people that say it's a little slow and stuff. The opening's a little slow. Like the lock in, the break into 2 is a little slow. Like
yeah.
I'm not sure what I'd call the catalyst. I think it's them showing up in the driveway.
Yeah,
And that happens
you
a
could
little
argue
late.
with it. It's
That happens a little late. And then the lock in is kind of when they're locked in and they're
Yeah.
trapped and they're handcuffed and all that stuff. And it's like, let's play the game.
Yeah,
And then we're locked
exactly.
in. And that's the movie we came to see.
Exactly.
Kind of the survival
and that
movie.
whole sequence
That
is weirdly
defines
fun
the
in
story
games.
question.
It is. It is.
That whole sequence where when they first when she runs away,
They're playing funny games.
they're literally
Playing
the
games.
boys
fun
are
and games.
the boys are literally playing fun and
Yeah.
games.
Yeah. So I
It's true.
Yeah.
unlike Get Out, where I could even argue, I wouldn't argue, but I could argue that it has like a 60-minute first act
Yeah.
and a 10-minute, or something. It has this crazy kind of slow
It's
burn
very
structure.
undefined where it turns into Act 2. We talked about that in the first podcast. We had a hard time easily saying what's the lock-in moment in
That's
that
right.
story.
That's right. And I've heard
Can you
him-
give a little definition of a lock-in
Yeah,
moment
Jamie,
for the audience?
Oh, yeah, sure. So usually like the break into 2. So when you
Act 2?
Yeah, when you change from Act 1 to Act 2, there's usually some moment that locks the hero into a goal against an obstacle with stakes.
It essentially defines the premise.
Yeah, it locks in, so to speak, your log line.
Yeah.
If you have one of these nicely written goal
well, that would be
obstacle
the
stakes.
driveway then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's when it all.
That's when
it's
it stops.
point of no return is right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So the
Yeah.
hero has a goal.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
without question.
The hero has a goal to survive. The obstacle is people trying to kill them. The stakes, life and death. We're locked into the movie.
Yeah.
That's the break into 2 in most movies.
Yeah.
And I
Is
think
Marty
that's
going to get
it.
Back to the Future?
Is Marty going to get Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Is Indiana Jones going to get the Lost Ark
Yeah.
before time runs out?
It's
Whatever
like
it is.
the story question is clearly defined at that moment, and the rest of the focus remains in an effort to answer that overall
Can
story
Dorothy
question.
find a way home? All
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
So once we get to that point where you can say, "Oh, this is what the movie's about," it's about a family trying to survive these killers who have
These
showed up.
Well, two questions.
Doppelganger killers.
Will they survive, and who are the doppelgangers?
Yeah, there's
Why? There's
yeah,
the why
yeah,
of
yeah.
them. I think
Mhm.
is a
The
very
why is
like other than some horror movies, the why of these killers
The
is
why,
really
the why is
intriguing.
important to us
Absolutely.
as the audience,
Yeah.
but the immediate goal.
The
for
immediate
them
goal is survival.
survival.
Yeah.
or escape,
Yeah. Exactly.
escape or survival. Right.
So, and I think that's.
I think
the
it's
big-
got a. I understand what you're saying. It's a way cleaner break
It's way
into
cleaner.
2 than
and,
Get Out.
and then even on top of it, like in Get Out, the midpoint probably happens when things the auction or
it's
something
when he
like
says
that.
"Get out, get out,
Get out.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
It's literally the title. The titular line is.
In this movie, the midpoint, it's a classic like escalation of stakes. My call for the midpoint is like when they go to when the neighbors show up.
Mhm.
It's bigger than just them.
Yeah.
It's more than just one family.
Yeah.
Clear escalation.
Not
of
only
stakes.
is it as bad as I thought, it's worse.
It's worse.
That's usually and
when
either,
pretty much right when the girls get stabbed
Yep.
in the neck.
And it either
Right. Yep.
oftentimes, and I don't think this is any different. The midpoint either offers you a false victory or a false defeat, and here's a false defeat. You know?
Yeah. Well, no, it depends where you put it, but I could almost see the false victory be we escaped.
Oh, it's a good
And
call.
then immediately, after they escape,
They are usually two-parters.
Yeah.
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 And then all of a sudden, no, it's all over. That's one I've used, I think, before in several of my scripts. It's all over. We escape the house. Well, the haunting is the monsters are everywhere. It's a pretty common.
Is all is lost here? Is it when the son is kidnapped?
Usually that is in All is Lost, and I think so. I think it's when the
yeah.
son-
I'm trying to think what other
the
would
fire
be that.
scene in the parking lot.
When he's grabbed.
When he's
grabbed.
Yeah.
Right.
There's not a huge Dark Night of the Soul because they basically just go on the rescue mission. I think
The
at
whole
that
thing
point.
is a Dark Night of the Soul.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, but usually, almost all is lost whenever there's like a kid kidnapped or something. Lethal Weapon. It gets personal.
Right.
They kidnapped my kid
Yeah,
or something. That's usually the all is lost moment.
There's just no other moment I could think that could fit. All is
That's
lost.
the one That's the one I flagged when I was watching.
You may never get him back. Yeah.
Right. And only she can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the dad has to stay with the
She
daughter.
has to go to the dungeon to rescue on the rescue
Right.
mission.
Right.
You know,
Subterranean.
it's funny. The whole movie, I was like, this is going to prove one of my things I always say, and then it didn't really. They kind of subverted it.
Okay.
So I have a law that mirror mazes are where people go to die, but she didn't. She went
Okay.
there. Like that's one of my irrefutable laws of filmmaking. But then she kind of went down the basement of the mirror maze. So it was kind of a half mirror maze.
Yeah,
where
okay.
people go to die.
Okay.
I mean, mirror mazes are cinematic. They
But-
have their history.
Yeah, the second I saw the mirror maze,
Right.
the second I saw the mirror maze in the beginning, I was like, well, here's Act 3. Let's test my theory.
The one thing, can I this I don't know if this is probably in the script, but the one thing I thought was interesting was when Adelaide goes to save her son, when she goes to the haunted house, or not the mirror maze, sorry. Right.
Might as well be.
The newly gentrified mirror maze that's now a wizard instead of an Indian.
Right. I like that idea. too.
yeah,
The
no, I
Harry
mean,
Potter.
I think it's
with the change in
Harry
time.
Potter
our-
vacation.
Part of our dark past that we hid.
This is a
right?
subtle detail they didn't call out.
Yeah.
The owl pops out and she smashes it, but then if looking back the second time I watched it, I was like, well, the first time we see it, it's not her that gets scared by the owl.
Yeah, but it's just a primal reaction.
I know,
but you're right.
I know, but I was like, I thought what was great was the audience reacts as though she is getting revenge for when it scared her as a kid.
Time, but it's
And
not really
it's
her.
not really that.
Yeah,
it's not really
exactly.
that at all. So I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of a genius little.
I learned some things when I was reading some things when I got home last night that there's like Native American supernatural lore in that mirror maze stuff in the first half because it's the shaman's vision.
Yeah.
Whistling in the dark is like a big no-no in Native American culture, and it's supposedly calls upon evil spirits. So when she whistles and then the spirit whistles back, that's like an answer to like she's in a Native American shaman quest. And then in Native American culture, an owl is like a harbinger of doom, like of death. So it's like a symbol of death. Both of those things I thought were really cool, nice little added touches that I didn't know watching the movie. It's cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Another setup and payoff we didn't mention that I read about last night, which I can't believe I didn't think about, was the gloves, which was with her T-shirt.
Oh yeah, man.
How did I not think of that? Like the fact that they're all
she
wearing
had the
one
T-shirt, yeah,
one glove.
I didn't even
Right,
think about
it's
that.
like a
nice
it's
little
genius.
touch.
It's the little touches that
Little touches.
Yeah. Let's talk about horror movies and how much to explain.
By the way, that one glove thing could have been risky. That movie could have been canceled when I saw the.
Geez,
It was obviously
the
filmed
timing.
before the documentary.
It doesn't matter nowadays.
People
What are you
don't care.
kidding? Yeah.
I know. 1986. It's
I was gonna start a Twitter
I'm
boycott.
on Jamie's side. People be like, "F this movie."
Yeah, I was just,
Still, you wouldn't want to. I would want to wear one of those tethered version of the shirt that is like the Michael shirt, but it's just shaped. that the
I
girl
loved
was wearing.
that. Yeah,
I thought that'd be such a cool
it was
shirt
creepy,
to
man.
own. Right. But let's talk about how much to explain, because this movie does have like a speech in it.
and it's another thing that I see that happened in Get Out. That's happening
right.
here.
No,
right?
it's stylistic.
Let's have. We're at the 75-minute mark or something. Let's
Right.
have a little talk. Now this
But
one
don't
came
you
a little
think,
later.
Jamie, like this would be something that people will call lazy? But I would say if we look
works.
back at Get Out, it almost seems it's intentional. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's not lazy. There's a reason.
So
Yeah.
I was of two minds for this. So by the way, I thought this movie totally worked for me.
Me too.
oh,
If
I'd see it
yeah.
again.
if
Yeah,
there
I didn't
was-
know
yeah.
that we haven't said that
We
out
haven't
loud.
said our review. Well, we're not a review
We're
show
not a review
technically.
But
I
mean,
loved it.
So,
I loved it.
I had
so
fun.
far, probably my favorite movie of this year. It's early. I haven't seen too many.
I mean, it's going to be my favorite horror movie, hands down. I can't see anything replacing
Yeah,
that.
There's one
Yeah.
other I can't talk about, but I'll tell you guys off air.
Ooh.
Oh!
So
Jamie's in the know.
yeah, there's one. I'm
Mr.
finally in the know
Nickelodeon
on
over here.
Exactly. So there's this is probably the one spot I debated whether I like this. Of course, you need it for the things that come later, maybe the twist and stuff. Maybe you need it.
Mhm.
But here's the reason I debate it. I debate this side. This is somewhere when I rate horror movies, I fall into these two camps. Like, should I just have a scene that tells everything and explains it all?
James
and does-
Bond villain.
Yeah, should I do that or should I not? You know, and I, of course, working with Blair Witch guys, they're kind of guys that prefer the let's not tell. You know, let's hide some of these things. Let's keep it a little. Let's keep our flashlight a little flickery and not show all the. Not that this told everything, but it kind of tells most of it.
Yeah.
It's a
Um,
broad stroke
it's-
explanation.
It is.
Well
it is.
said.
Yeah.
So I will say, after years of working with the studios, you're better off. I'm almost going to suggest if you're a spec screenwriter, you're probably better off doing this version
This.
than the other, than
the explanation version.
the explanation version. If you go through a development process, you will have at least one draft that has this version. It'll be like, stop the movie. I'm going to give a speech for 10
The
minutes. of what's
Matrix
going on."
Reloaded architect. Just
Exactly.
sitting here telling you everything. Right.
I personally am not sure. I almost prefer movies that half step it back, that tell you a little bit, but not enough.
Yeah.
And this movie especially was that, because once they told me that, I started debating it. I started coming up with the tweaks. I would have never done that had they not sat down and gave me the full explanation. If they would have just left a little bit on the playing field.
You could almost live with the text at the beginning.
Yep.
That's
is
right.
that there's
I
tunnels
agree.
all over the United States. Okay. They come from that.
Yeah.
I even felt, to an extent, it felt a little redundant at times. Like, did I need to know about the rabbits again? Did I need to know about this?
Yeah.
I think it was more visual though.
I like the visual.
That's
Yeah,
the visual
that-
of
yeah.
the rabbits.
And
yeah.
I like the visuals of the people underneath the ground and
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff.
It's creepy. It's
So it gave us that. Maybe that's what he's going for. Maybe he really wanted to show that kind of. It was almost
gave him an opportunity.
weirdly funny.
That's where the
in some ways.
filmmaking overtakes the script a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Agreed.
It's
Yeah.
the one spot that. So I guess my advice has, if you're writing spec screenplays, you probably want to do this. Even though your instinct might say don't do it, you probably do want to get splainy with it. But if you're making your own movie, maybe you don't. I don't know. It's I'm more on the side. I'm of the camp. I like when you half step it. You don't go all the way.
Just a little.
Just a
bit.
little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like this is just a little bit though. Even though
Well,
it's
I think
it's a
overstepped it ever so
Yeah,
slightly.
if there were 10 steps, I think it might have went to 8, and I wish it went to 7.
So
okay. Okay.
That's what I'm
So
You
the
didn't go all the way to 10.
I got two
I don't think it
comments
takes
on
away,
this.
but
The one thing is she doesn't actually say. She says, "I believe they did this," so she doesn't. She's speculating.
Oh, that's a good catch. Yeah.
And
she also isn't a clone.
she says, "I believe."
She also isn't a clone.
Right.
Remember, so she's
right.
only talking from what she
She's
could gather
talking from what she gathered,
Right.
Which I think absolves it of a lot of the
not make-
debate
that's
because
why it
she
can't
doesn't
make
know.
sense, right.
She's explaining what she knows. The only thing that she knows is the plan, which she tells it. And I think it was fine. It was serviceable. I called this serviceable.
Mhm.
Like it did the job. I
Right.
think it did the job a little too much, like you
Mhm.
said, and it didn't need to try to over explain because so this is like I brought this I forget how C. Robert Cargill, is that how he wrote
Yeah,
Doctor
yeah.
Strange.
Right,
He
right.
was on Ain't It Cool News for
awesome Twitter guy.
Love this guy. He
Yeah.
pointed this out, and so I just this was inspired by him. He said that this movie relies on nightmare logic,
Mhm.
and I had never heard that term. And
Okay.
as soon as I heard it, and
Kind of
started
like dream logic.
yeah,
I guess.
it's on
The-
the same line.
the dark side of
So
it.
so as soon as he brought that up, I started researching it before I'd even seen the movie. So like, that was easy for me to be like, oh well, it's operating on this.
Okay.
And so you asked like how much to explain in the horror movie. Well, for this one, like it depends on the source of the threat.
Mhm.
For me, like if it's motivated that
Mhm.
you can explain it, then you should explain it. If it defies explanation, which I think this does, I think it defies explanation. So nightmare logic is like it follows. and The Shining,
Mm-hmm.
these things could never exist. Never, right? Freddy could never exist.
Right.
Freddy operates under nightmare logic. So no matter what your
So
explanation,
nightmare logic is kind of just not logic.
And there's a Nightmare on Elm Street tape in the opening scene. It's one of the tapes. I mean,
Right.
his influences. He's like, here's my influences. There's like 6
Chud,
tapes.
Goonies,
Chud,
The Man with Two
Goonies,
Brains.
The Man with Two Brains, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like these are all intentional in there. So I think he hit the nail on the head, Robert Cargill. So it basically is horror elements aren't meant to make sense, right? They are not. You can't make sense of them. And it is horror elements. They explore our nightmares about our fears fully realized.
Mm-hmm.
They don't actually explore a real thing, right?
Right.
And with this one, I think that absolves it of needing to explain it. Like, I think if he hadn't explained it, it would have been fine.
It would have also been fine.
Yeah.
I think I like the construction of that scene, hence why I like the
I like
explanation.
the scene.
I
But if
understand.
we just saw the tunnels and we
Mhm.
saw them mimicking,
Yeah.
I think the reason for that is we need to see the mimicking,
Yeah.
Right.
which we don't see.
You're right.
The function it serves is that we get to see the montage of them all acting out the carnival.
Mhm.
And and then you assume
shows
that
us
it's happening
that.
all over the United States
Yep.
to you, even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it
that's-
kind of gives us a fully realized answer. Right.
Where else would he put that
That's a good call.
if it weren't there?
That's a good call.
Right.
But
So it does serve a function. It's
But
not
he
useless.
may not have needed to say anything.
Just to give an example,
At all,
and
to do that.
maybe people have figured this stuff out. I haven't done a deep dive on the explanations.
Yeah.
But like when I saw that, then I was like, well, they drove in a car. Where did they come from? Did all the people get in a car and mimic them to the exact
Underground?
spot?
Yeah.
Right.
They
Now
drove-
you ask yourself all these
all
questions.
those questions
right.
started to come into play that didn't come because I was going by nightmare logic.
Yeah.
And I suddenly felt like we stepped out of the nightmare.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's why I think the explanation it kind of breaks that, right?
Mhm.
It keeps it, like you said, it takes us out. Oh, like it doesn't have to make sense, and all of a sudden they start trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
And we go, well, shit. Now
Right.
that you're telling me it could make sense, I don't buy it
Yeah,
as
I'm-
much. It worked for me. I didn't have any issues with it at all, but I hear what you're saying.
That instantly, that's what
Yeah.
I thought of. I started to say, well, they got here in a car and they were
Like you're
underground.
saying,
now they're
do the
geogra-
tethered travel to where they used to live?
Did they
Yeah.
get in
And
a
they-
car?
Right,
'Cause-
right.
'cause
Logic,
Now
right.
they're geographically in the same place because they were at the, at the carnival. Or
Is it
whatever.
weird that part of me feels like he wants you to do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
So-
but yeah,
It was the only part of the movie where that part of my brain clicked in.
Yeah.
And
it's like, well, wait a minute.
I kind of lost it for a few seconds, and then I got back into it, and I was like, "Oh, that's
Once
okay."
she starts dance fighting, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
back into it.
Yeah,
right.
back into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Let's see how
okay.
this ends.
Yeah, right.
So I would say, like, as a teaching example, like, I would say proceed with caution with the nightmare logic and just anything goes.
you kind of need to
know?
have a master filmmaker's hand if you're going to do
Some-
it. How's
sometimes
that?
it's just an excuse for laziness.
Exactly.
That's the reality.
And that's
of
the
it.
danger of
which we're
using
not
it.
saying here.
No, not at
No.
all.
No,
not
no,
at
no.
all.
No.
And in fact, like I would argue that the best uses of nightmare logic have rules. Like Freddy, It Follows has rules.
Yeah.
Even though it could never exist, it still has rules, right? And this one does.
Internal logic.
Internal rules for the magic.
Yeah.
And this one has one that I noticed, which is, and it's loose. So, but it does have a rule, and that is, the person above ground has a tethered
A psych.
doppelganger
Right.
below. And from what I can tell from the one, and I didn't read this, but this is just what it seemed like to me, is whoever is above ground controls the soul, right? So she used to have no soul, our Adelaide that we're following. And I think where she gained the soul is when she started dancing. Like, I think the very moment,
Mhm.
this is not a theory. I mean, I guess it is a theory. I'm not trying to make this a theory podcast.
Right.
But I think the rule is there's two bodies, but only one gets to have the soul, and whoever is on top gets the soul. And then the dancing is what made the revolution underground, but I also think the dancing is where she lost her soul underground.
right.
Like, that was her last moment, and she just became like the rest of them. But I don't know. I think that's the rule.
I wouldn't totally disagree with that. The dancing, there's a reason it's punctuated right there.
It's
I mean,
punctuated. It was like, yeah, that
she says it's the dancing.
because everybody
so,
underground suddenly saw what it looked like to have a soul.
Yeah. Right.
Because to me, I think the goal of this movie
The only reason we could jump into this because I think you're about to say it.
Yeah.
The thematic.
The themes.
The theme.
Yeah.
No, it's a good transition. To
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Because the only thing I would say, like the one thing, a lot of times what happens when there are twist endings is sometimes the theme gets jettisoned, right? But in this one, the theme, if you think about it, you're wondering if it actually adds to it.
The twist informs the theme.
The twist informs the theme.
Right.
Because there's certainly a fear of the others kind of thing going on. I think I've heard Jordan Peele say
He
that.
said, if we're us, then there has to be others.
There has to be others.
Yes, that's what he
so
said several times.
others can
Love
be
that.
anything.
Yeah.
Love that.
It can be literally
It can
anything.
be race, immigration,
He
rich,
specifically said several times this is not about race too. I think he
Yeah.
really wanted everyone to
poor.
know
There's
that.
nothing about it that specifically strikes me as race.
No.
It's just you
No.
can apply your other to this and
Yes.
then make a debate about it. And the only thing I'd say, so then you have this thing, the fear of the others. And I actually saw like a website that's saying this is it was like a right-wing website. This is an anti-socialist message. They were saying Jordan Peele makes an anti-socialist statement because the others
Incredible.
look how dangerous
Of course.
look how dangerous
Someone.
the others are, and they come and try to kill us, and we should, I don't know, that was a whole thing.
I actually felt bad for the shadow people.
Absolutely. But it makes us look evil to an extent, like we're the ones that don't care, which I think it is. It's supposed to be
Yes.
self-reflection, not evil. That might be strong.
He's also said that every action that we make in our lives, like now, it also is possibly hurting someone.
Yes.
And that was like that's sort of
It's
the theme. It's like your actions have
Exactly.
consequences
Exactly.
on others.
I think it was like, the last season of The Good Place, for example. Like it was
Yeah.
hard for
Yep.
nobody could get to heaven maybe that's a spoiler. Sorry. But basically, lives
Jamie.
are complicated. We're all sinning, even though we're doing good things in our
You
life.
can be a good people.
Just-
You can be a good person and do horrible things.
Just drinking your plastic water bottle,
Killing a whale
Yeah, exactly.
later,
So
yeah.
I think there's some of that in here. But so then you say, well, what about the twist? How does that factor in? And I think the twist factors in. I was trying to figure that out, but I think it is kind of that nature versus nurture thing, where they're the same as us, just different circumstances. And
Yeah.
if we switch their circumstances, if one person is born into some horrible situation, they could become a killer, versus if one person's born into a privileged situation,
that's
they can,
the-
they can
The
have a good
second
time.
I walked out of this movie, the first thing I thought about was Trading Places, the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like literally,
Yeah.
like that was. I'm surprised that wasn't one of the VHS.
Oh, that's,
I know.
I really am.
You
Yeah.
should have put the two old men in there.
Right.
On the tape.
Right.
But yeah, so I think in this case the twist does inform
the theme. Yeah.
overall.
Nature versus nurture. That's who gets the soul.
I think,
Right?
and I think
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I think it's a lot about. I think what I brought out of it was it's gratitude versus envy, because there's a lot of premise delivery that deals with that.
Mhm.
I mean, they put so much emphasis on Gabe's envy, and he's the one that
He's like a tethered of Tim Heidecker.
exactly.
And we
Right,
haven't
yeah.
even talked about the White family, which is kind of the B
Yeah,
story
yeah,
informing
and
the
the-
theme.
and-
Yeah,
and
you're
the
right.
white-
The
and-
kooky girls doing handsprings out of nowhere and
But it's
flips and stuff, and gymnastics, random
Right.
gymnastics.
But it's a great parallel to how the shadow people feel about our main family,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like
Yes.
that's just premise delivery right there, like, right? It's great, and it's like an easy way for us to kind of like see it through our hero's eyes, what the shadow people are feeling, what specifically Gabe. And I loved that Gabe ended up killing the man that he envied, just like.
Oh
like,
yeah, it's
yeah,
perfect. I mean,
it's perfect.
obviously.
Yeah, no, I
it's
just
perfect.
loved that though. I mean,
Yeah.
I appreciated the writing. But yeah, to me it was saying like appreciate what you have and don't forget about the people who don't have what you have, because these people are forgotten, and that's like what creates all of their issues.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all on the same page.
I think
don't
we
think
are.
there's that much to unpack. I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I think it's like I think it's like They Live level blunt.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, really. It's
So whenever I
blunt.
hear these
Yeah.
things like the mysteries and blah blah, I don't
Yeah.
think there's that much to unpack. I think it's pretty easy to
I think there's
see.
lots of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
with the clues
Yeah.
and stuff, but it's pretty blunt.
I think it's pretty blunt too.
Yeah.
So you don't believe the anti-socialist message? He was trying to-
No, I
People
sadly
are
do
seeing
not.
things where
I-
they want.
I kind of like how this one, like you say, it's not about race. It is enough vagued up that you can apply certain other, your other.
It's not about
own
race, but it's
situation.
also like, while it's also like we talked about, you can be a sinner without sinning.
Mhm.
It's also about hiding our past. These things.
Yeah.
That like the "We Are Americans" line.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like
Americans.
it's
so
us
good.
pushing the past away, and it's a reflection of who we are, and we don't want to look at it. We don't want to see it, and it's
Yeah.
gonna come back
Yep.
to kill us.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tight.
It is tight.
Yeah, and I mean that like writing, not like it's tight. But, yeah. Right. Is there anything else we need to talk about with this?
I
that-
think we hit all the other
without getting
stuff.
into theories about socialism.
Yeah, we haven't been
or-
doing the theories. I'm glad we
Yeah.
haven't been
Well,
doing
theories,
Yeah,
that's
it's
on our
different.
podcast.
Yeah.
We're not. Yeah, we could.
Yeah, I think we touched on it all. I wanted to get your thoughts because I don't see it on the list that I printed out, but I could have sworn one of you guys was asking about his attention to detail.
Oh yeah, it was
we
snuck
just skipped
in
over
here.
it. I
Yeah.
missed it.
yeah, I think.
What do you guys think about? Okay, because like for instance, I'll give an example and I'll
Yeah.
argue why it's not. It's kind of a who cares.
Okay.
I think a lot of these things that people go back and and
Mhm.
explore are nothing. They're just kind of like a simple little. They almost function for me as like a joke. They're like a
Mhm.
theme gag,
He is a comedian.
right? But they're not to be laughing about.
No,
but it's
no,
like
but-
they have the same emphasis as a joke. Like you don't think about it after it happens, but you go, "Oh, cool." Okay, in the background, every single scene is filled with one or two of these things.
Mhm.
That people go, what does it mean? What's the deep meaning behind it? And there's like a YouTube video just about this one thing.
Right.
It means nothing.
He's wearing a Jaws shirt.
It's thematically related. It's
Mhm.
part of the whole.
There's some of him he loves being a filmmaker and he wants to make his film look and sound like he wants it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not necessarily everything means something.
right.
I know.
But I'll
okay.
give you an example.
Sorry,
In the
sorry.
background, when he's watching the baseball game,
Yeah.
the baseball game is the San Francisco Giants are playing the Minnesota Twins,
Yeah. Right.
and the score is tied 11 to
11.
11.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't mean anything. It's just a gag. But you'll
The
have
fact that it's like the Bible verse.
right. It's
Yeah.
just it doesn't have a deeper meaning to it, and I would argue that it doesn't make the story better. But you'll hear endless people saying that these are the things that make this a deep movie. And what do you guys think about those elements from a writing standpoint? Do you think they're necessary? Do you think you should do it?
No,
What
I
do you
think that the very nature of unnecessary, but it's
That's what I'm asking.
Well, no,
yeah.
those things are what make us go, this guy cares.
Yeah.
It's not like they're
There's
necessary.
an appreciation. Absolutely.
there's
I
an
appreciate it.
No, it's not necessary, but it's like he's not only having fun, he's in total control, and he has the mind to add those things where he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to make a decision about these things for some reason or another. Like somebody's going to ask you, well, who's the baseball team on TV? You
Yeah,
know?
right.
So it's informed by whatever decisions.
Like
you
if
make.
you saw this in a student script and like every single moment on the page, if they aspired to be like this, what would you tell them?
It can be on the nose.
That's
and
what
it
I'm
can
saying.
be distracting. Like
It's distracting.
I know there was a time when I was writing with somebody, and they always liked to give funny names to characters. Like let's say they were named after famous presidents, and they were sneaking like,
Right.
You know, this one is this. You know, it's George and Abraham and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, well, when somebody reads this, they're gonna be, it wasn't a comedy.
Distracted.
It's
right.
like serious, but you just decided your rule was
It's not
gonna
meta,
be,
so
yeah, it wasn't
And-
meta.
Yeah.
It's becoming
Right.
meta, and it's not, and it's like a mess. So I think you have to be careful with
That's
it.
why
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up,
Well-
because I'm gonna go back to my concerns with the hereditary thing, right? Like when a movie like this blows up,
Right.
the first thing that people who are new writers want to do is emulate the things they love, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
there's gonna be hundreds of scripts written where line by beat by
Jimmy's
beat,
trying to make his
image
job easier.
image by image is like the clock is 11:11 and blah blah. And,
Right,
and
right.
It's gonna be. I think it's it could be detrimental to your story.
But it's not to this one.
Not to this
Yeah.
one at all.
No,
not at all.
No, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I'd say proceed with caution.
Also, a lot of that stuff, I haven't read the script, the actual script to us.
I
but
looked for it. I didn't see it.
I gotta imagine a lot
It's
of this
not out
stuff
there.
is like
Production design.
production design
Exactly.
and
It's
like
not in the script.
post that
He
game
might
and
not
that
even
television.
have come up with it.
They
Yeah.
could have
You know,
they could have put that stuff on the television and that announcer in post.
Yeah.
Like it's
I
not,
agree with you.
You know what I mean? Like it might
Yeah.
not be in the script like
So
that.
I wanted to pose the question about it from a writing standpoint.
I do fear that because I've been part of that. I've been, I've been in scripts that have done that, and it's a little silly. It takes people out, and they don't. It can script the tone of your script. Like
Yep.
if you want it totally serious, and there's always little inside
It's-
winks. However,
But I feel like the opening VHS tapes were intentional.
Absolutely.
No,
so there's a
Probably in the-
line.
in-
There's a line.
There's a line.
There's a line.
I would also say Jordan Peele is. I call him kind of M. Night with a sense of humor.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's well
Yes.
said.
He's sitting. He has this sense of humor that he's,
He's
winking
playing.
at you.
He's playing
the
with the
game.
audience.
We're
man.
having a good time when
Yeah.
we're watching his movies. It's not like dead serious.
He's also a cinephile of the highest order.
Yeah.
Like the highest order.
If Christopher Nolan was doing it, it might be a little weird.
Because he doesn't do that.
What the heck?
Because he doesn't do
Yeah,
that. But
his movie might be a little different.
Jordan Peele's a horror geek.
Yeah.
He's a movie geek.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he is to some degree
Yeah,
playing
I
with
love
the
the-
genre.
the-
Playful.
Yeah.
Tarantino's
The
playful.
copper
and
pot.
Tarantino
stuff.
does the same
He does
thing.
the same.
Like
Yeah.
the Copper Pot's fast food restaurant. That was hilarious. I loved that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to do
Yeah.
as his style
So,
and the way he views
I
this.
just wanted to bring it up because I
he
could
begged
foresee
Spielberg for a Jaws shirt. There's
Yeah.
a reason.
Yeah.
Because he's making a movie and he gets to put a Jaws shirt in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And plus that scene at the beach. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a mimicry of tone and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah.
but it's not. What if that kid wasn't wearing a Jaws shirt? Would it make the script or movie worse? No.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't think that would affect my viewing of this movie if that Jaws shirt wasn't there.
Yeah.
But
Well, if
Yeah.
it was the Meg, it might.
But
well, then it'd be time appropriate though.
I mean, I
Yeah.
just
Does anybody wear the Meg shirt? I've never.
We'll get
seen
you a Meg
it. I
shirt,
want one.
Jamie.
Somebody send one in.
oh man,
Send in a Meg shirt. Yeah.
we got a slightly growing audience. You never know.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Venmo it to me. I don't know.
Says the guy
Um,
wearing a shirt of a movie he wrote.
I love that. He's wearing the band shirt, dude.
Yeah.
I
Jamie's
fucking
wearing a
love that,
lovely
Jamie.
Molly shirt.
That's
so.
right. That's right. 10-year-old.
Anyway, thanks.
Right.
I thought that was worth discussing.
No, it
because
is. It totally is. I think it's more filmmaking than it is writing.
It's
though.
ever present,
yeah.
and you have to wonder how much of it was in the script, and you also have to wonder if it was all in the script, would have been as you're in the hands of a guy who knows what the hell he's doing. Is essentially why it works.
I think you said it on the Hereditary episode when you were talking to prospective filmmakers, like, dude, you're not Jordan Peele.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
until you become on that level,
You can
don't
do
act
that
like
shit.
you are,
Yeah.
type of thing,
Yeah.
right?
It's just my concern. I just am concerned.
right? No, I think that's
Because
fair.
I'll be reading these.
right. But I think that
No mystery goals.
Right. I think beside that aside, though, beside the 11, the
I
11s,
think that's
I think that's everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
as
think
far
so.
as the script, we're not talking theories and everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we covered it.
I loved this movie.
I loved it too.
I really did. Like, gonna throw it out there. I think I saw Get Out 5 times in theaters. I think I might actually like this one more.
Man.
I liked it more because it's probably. I think
It's
this is more
weirder.
rewatchable. It's more
Maybe.
fun. There's a lot of stuff to do. That's a slow burn kind of movie that is based on mystery.
I mean, I
and-
love it. I love
Yeah,
Get
me too.
Out, but
I think it's well constructed. This one's a little more fun. It feels more like a summer
To
movie.
me, it's
you know,
also
or
This
just-
is way more fun.
to me this is more reminiscent of horror movies from my childhood.
Yeah.
It really feels like a John Carpenter movie. Or
It's
something.
very fun.
It
Yeah.
really feels like weird and old school. Whereas Get Out was so prescient, and now this is
Yeah,
like
oh my
this
God,
is Jordan
it's
Peele
heavy.
going. This is I'm happy
I guess
that
it depends on what you want.
I'm
If,
happy
if
he's-
you're looking for a heavy evening, watch Get Out.
Yeah,
if you're
watch Get
looking
Out,
for
right.
fun, this is more fun. Yeah.
I'm glad this is the one that was on the cover of Fangoria because I think it deserves it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Us.
Us.
All right.
Go see it.
It's probably still out when
Yeah,
this comes
definitely.
out, so
making billions of dollars.
it's passing the 1 billion mark as we speak.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
You have just listened to Writers Blockbusters, a screenwriting podcast featuring two professionals and another guy. Available only on Thundergrunt.